Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm here to introduce you to Cherie, and she's the owner of CoCreate Magic, and she's very much into neuro-linguistic programming, and I'm really excited to learn more, and I hope you are also. Cherie, thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit. So you've got, you're doing, you bring in people to just do consultations, is that right? Or,
yeah, well, with neuro-linguistic programming is basically, it's a set of tools that were developed by a couple of guys who watched some very effective therapists. I know Milton Erickson was one of them that were studied to see what it was that they were doing that was made them so effective in their work. And so then a set of tools was developed from there, and they called that neuro-linguistic programming. And so there's basically a tool bag that I have that I can use with clients. And so, it's basically a talking session, although sometimes we get into like sensations and feelings in the body and talk about those, because those can lead to some things that maybe are in the subconscious sometimes. So, we just use whatever comes forward in the session.
okay.
And yeah, with the pandemic, I'm mostly meeting with people on Zoom or by phone. Both ways seem to be equally as effective as meeting in person. So
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm, I'm a little bit familiar with, I guess, NLP for short, right?
mm-hmm.
Richard Banner. I've listened to a few people regarding NLP, but I've listened. I'm not sure that I've really put it in practice or anything. But it is a fascinating topic. I'm just amazed at all the I guess the things that we just don't realize are happening and how we're affected by them.
Mm-hmm.
By language or body motion, etc. So I find it really interesting. So
Yeah, and it can be interesting, like how many times like people have like disagreements just because they have a different meaning for a word. Like that's something I encounter and something I learned about during my training. That's just one of the many little things that all go together.
what would you say would be kind of a common thing that people will come away with after a session or a few sessions with you?
One of the things that I hear is that they have new way of seeing things. Like I've asked them, they'll tell me I've asked them questions that they hadn't thought to ask themselves about, whatever it was that they came to me with. So, new perspective and new options for old stuck things.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Have you, how long have you been a practitioner for a long time, or
I have been for quite a while. I discovered NLP back when I was in the process of my divorce. And at the time I was in a group counseling that was actually very effective and it was doing great. But then I started the NLP classes concurrently, and I discovered that the NLP was really like accelerating my growth and my change. And because I was really looking to not repeat the same patterns that had me ending up in divorce. And so, that has inspired me to want to offer this to others. Because I guess through my training, what I've found is that I've found a more peaceful way to be in relationship, both with myself and with others. Because we find that with when we can be more at peace inside ourselves, then it's so much easier to be at peace with others. And so I'm really excited about helping to spread that. And, hopefully eventually we'll have enough peace in the world that, a lot of things can change.
That would be wonderful, of course. You would say that if people that tend to get into arguments are probably not too happy inside, there's something going on personally? that's why, or?
Maybe it may be an outdated pattern. We learned things in childhood that were perfect coping mechanisms for when we were a child, like the things that kept us alive with our parents, like I don't know. For instance, we learned not to speak up about something because we felt like if we did, that they would get angry with us. And as a child, if your parent shuns you, then your basic survival is at risk. And kids tend to make these decisions even though they are not aware that maybe their parent would never leave them. That we know that that's not true. Like, well, in a lot of cases, not always, but so a lot of NLP is helping to see new perspective on some of those like patterns and like where they were developed. Often the client doesn't have the whole picture, like the pattern was developed with a partial picture of what happened back then. And so once they see this from a new perspective, then there becomes like room for a new way of being, a new way of reacting to a similar situation. These things we often, they're patterns that, because they were developed so young, they branch out and affect us in adulthood, even though they're no longer needed in adulthood. So that's what makes it effective, I think.
Sure. Yeah. And so so mostly Zoom meetings for the time being for you. Did COVID affect you in any way from your business here, or is it pretty much because?
I had not rented a space just because of economics of that. And so I had done a session here and there, borrowing a space from a friend and or on the phone or online. And, now with the pandemic, Zoom meetings and phone calls are much more common. And so that has helped my business.
For sure. I understand. Yeah. Are you Northwest native? I've been around, lived here a long time, or?
I am. Yes. I was actually born up by Northgate at Northwest Hospital and grew up in Shoreline area.
Okay. Yeah. One of the few.
Mm-hmm.
So now you live in Kenmore, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have, because I'm really into promoting Kenmore and the local businesses here, do you have a favorite establishment that you like to frequent, a restaurant or business? Or?
I would say my most frequented place would be St. Edward's Park, because I love to go hiking and they have the trails and it makes you feel like you're out in the woods and you're like far removed from things. I also like Kid Valley, the restaurant.
Okay.
I've had really good experiences with the Kenmore Chamber of Commerce meetings for networking, although it's been a while since I've been to one. And then I took my son to the Kenmore Smiles Dentistry, and that we had really great experience with Dr. Mott there.
Okay.
So
good. Well, there's a few of them. Yeah.
Those would be my recommendations.
The park is sure wonderful. And also obviously the lodge next to it or in the park, in St. Edward's Park is also wonderful. But yeah. As far, I guess, just in finishing up here, is there anything coming up that you'd like to tell the community about that they should know in your business?
Sure. Yeah, I have been I've been facilitating a group with other artists, and it's kind of like an artist circle, but not for, it's like for anyone, even if you don't know how to do art or you don't think of yourself as an artist. It's more of, I don't know, I guess, well, I'm calling it an art, play, and sharing circle, because it's more for connection and for playing with art supplies while connecting with others and just kind of getting to know each other.
Okay.
So that's coming soon. I have information about that on my website at CoCreateMagic.com, as well as information about client sessions. You can sign up on my website. I also have a 20-minute, or I can't remember if it's 15 or 20-minute, like a meet and greet sort of intro session that's free for people if they want to just chat with me for a few and see if it might be a good fit.
Okay.
And another resource that I wanted to recommend is I've been facilitating a group on Facebook called Freedom in Relationships, where I've shared lots of things that have worked for me about having more peace in relationships and finding more freedom within relationship.
Okay.
So that's a group you can look up and join.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, lots of little tidbits there. Well, you heard it, folks. CoCreateMagic.com. Please visit the site. We'll also have it on the scroll at the end of this short video. And Cherie, well, thank you so much for joining us. Great talking to you. And I think we're all kind of in this to make it a better community and have more connections. And obviously, we want all of us to be prosperous. So, but thanks again. And thanks everyone for joining us, and have a wonderful month.